Hi everyone. Let me preface this video by saying that I have no freaking clue what I'm doing here. I am nervous, I am a little afraid though. After having done a few initial takes of this, I am a little less afraid and don't feel quite as strange talking to a set of lenses that I'm looking at here and hoping that that's going to transform into someone actually looking at this and some and this spawning maybe some conversation or whatever other helpful things. So basically, what I want to do is I am in a process, like all of us, and there are certain things I would like to accomplish. And in this case, at least for the time being, at the moment specifically, they are related to themes such as entrepreneurship, professional life, career, building things is something I do at the moment, creative journey maybe, being a creative, let's say, participant in this world we're living in. So there are some things I would like to accomplish there, and I have a certain process or certain processes, and I do certain things regularly, and so there are some things that I feel work really well for me, or some of the parts of my process that work really well, that I figured some things out, and one of my desires and intentions is to share those with you, not from a place of that I think I have so much to teach or something. I really don't want to focus on that in this way, but rather I hope that there is something you can find that you think is meaningful or useful or valuable to you. That's completely up to you, because so and the overall intention is to just lay out my process, to share my process. If you find something in there, great. I would also like to just apply my process, basically do what I do, work with, because I do work with thoughts and emotions a lot. And I don't think there's too many people talking about that, and especially in any context that involves being a professional, in any context that's about entrepreneurship, for example, building something, being creative. Maybe in the creative space there's more, the more you go towards artists, maybe. But in the space where I feel I am moving around every day, I don't feel like there's a lot of conversation happening at a high level or at a useful level, and at a deep level as well, about topics like working with thoughts and emotions and creative energy that stems from those. And on my journey, I find a lot of challenges, and there are lots of questions that I have, and sometimes I have answers, and but sometimes I just don't have any. Sometimes I am enthusiastic, and sometimes I am deep in fear or despair or discouragement, and I usually find ways out of those. And I think that sometimes at least the lessons contained in those situations are relevant and important, and maybe someone else can use them as well. And I just really like having conversations. Oftentimes, I just have conversations with myself, like I feel I have right now. And I've actually recorded lots of audio material over the years that I just have never really published. But I also received a lot from those conversations, and I even when I don't record things like that, I still enjoy talking to myself, whoever that is, various parts of myself, and I receive a lot of value. And I think there is a lot of value in just allowing others to participate in this kind of process, and yeah. Okay, having said that, there is another disclaimer maybe. I have no idea what I'm doing. I think I already said that. But to be more precise, I have no idea what this format is. I have no idea what I'm doing here. So I would absolutely enjoy if you come along. I'm grateful for any feedback that you have, for any thoughts, any emotions, any if you share any of your perspective. I will try to keep this focused, but I think I will not be editing any of this. I will just uploading it in sort of a raw format. So maybe if you think of this as a sort of vlog, or maybe as something like a stream, maybe like some people stream in the Let's Chat or just chatting, what is it called on Twitch? So more impromptu, less polished, somewhat longer form, or I mean definitely not as or compressed or polished like maybe you would find in a lot of places around the web, in terms of if you should compare it to any content. So and this is something that, so this kind of spontaneous, impromptu, in the moment conversation is just something that really suits me. And I'm not even sure that at this point I would be able to edit content in such a way that I would not somewhere along the editing or the whole creative process, that I would not lose the essence of something that would make this or could make this really good. So I'm just staying away from, so disclaimer, this is kind of raw content. Think of it accordingly. Participate if you'd like to, but certainly you're not forced to watch this. And yeah. Okay, having that out of the way, what did I want to do today? What did I want to talk about? So there's a few things on my mind currently, where I really, right now, I don't have any answers to, or I have a lot more questions than answers. So let's see if we can find all of those questions and see if we can find some answers, or if we can just at least make some progress in whatever way, shape, or form. But in the end, I mean, progress would be defined as, well, I feel a bit better about something. I feel, I feel a little bit better, at least, about something that's related to any of these topics and questions. So what are we looking at today? Okay, here's the thing. I have a business that does software development, where I offer my services as a developer, as a consultant, architect, what have you. So basically, I build software for people, and I also consult them about that at various stages of projects and ideas and businesses. And I've done that for a while. So I know my way around some of these things. And it's good. It's something where I'm finding that whether I enjoy it or not, whether and what benefits or how this work affects me is basically only dependent upon myself. The perspectives that I take on everything, how I see things, how I choose, whether consciously or sometimes unconsciously, however I choose to look at things, that's the way I will feel about my work and how it affects me. So specifically, that means that I've put myself in situations where I felt horrible about my work. I felt terrible about myself, about like just wanting to run away from it, and other times absolutely loving it. Sometimes basically not earning a whole lot, like earning very little, almost nothing from it, and at other times earning wonderful amounts of money. And at some points, like learning almost nothing and growing almost not at all, and at other points just doing great in those areas as well. And that took me a while to get to a point where I can see the correlations between my thoughts, the perspectives that I choose, and how I feel, and then what kinds of results that I'm getting. And that's been great. It's been a very important step, and it feels very good to have done that. And so I can generally enjoy it, and I do. I still have a lot of work to do in terms of being much more in control in terms of how much money I make. And I definitely feel that just raw effort doesn't cut it. That's not the deciding factor, even though, I mean, yeah, if I don't apply myself fully, certainly I get different results than if I do. So, and there is some kind of effort involved, and I think this is a very interesting and very rich topic in and of itself, effort, because there's a lot of situations, let's say, where you think about and effort, you like, for example, doing estimations, or then when you're prioritizing something, when you're planning projects, and when executing, like how much time certain things take and stuff like that. And it's a very interesting topic to explore, but I think I will not do that today. It's something for another time. But there's a lot to say about effort, but there's some level of effort involved, and that's fine, because we're not here to eat and sleep all day, but we actually want to apply ourselves. And if we can, sweat a little and feel some amount of exhaustion, or having exerted ourselves, like having put everything we had into something, and then recovering and allowing our body and mind and brains, all of the functions that make us up, allowing them to recover and restore and gain higher levels of energy and capability and stuff like that. That's great. So yeah. Okay. So yes, so financially there's a lot of work to do for me, but it's not at the point where it's holding me back from many things, though I will say that it sure would be, or at least I think from my current perspective, and this is something I would like to explore, that of course having more financial resources, I think, would help me in exploring some of the things that I am currently not exploring, or like working on some of the things, or putting some things into action that I'm currently only thinking and dreaming about, instead of doing that, instead of acting on them. And so this brings us to the main topic, I guess, of what I want to explore today. So I have this software business, and it's doing okay. I do have to invest a significant amount of my time into that, so that it returns enough money, it provides enough income for me to be able to live and support my family. And there is, like, almost every time I work on a project, there's going to be things, ideas coming to me that go way beyond the scope of the project, where I just feel like, damn, this would be, if I could implement a thing that did this thing or that thing, right? And it's kind of, it pertains to the project at hand, but it's like, oh, this would be so much easier. It would be so much less work to implement if we had a system that did this or that or that. but these things just go way beyond the scope of the project, so I cannot really do them inside of the project. But I mean, I have so few financial resources banked up, basically stored up, that I can't just drop everything else and start working on such a project. Okay, I'm trying to. So, what is my question here? What is my intention? What's my intention? I feel like right now I am very much going for low-hanging fruit in terms of what I can get paid for. And I mean that maybe if you think about it in an entrepreneurial sense, let's say the neighbor needs the lawn mowed. That's very low-hanging fruit, especially if if you have a house or you own a lawnmower for whatever reason, or the neighbor has one, and you can just walk over there. It's like 30-second investment, and you talk to your neighbor regularly, so you don't have to do any sales or even discovering users and selling to them and stuff like that. You just you've heard about this opportunity, you just walk over, 30-second investment, and you just mow the lawn and you get some small amount of money for that. So that's very low hanging because it takes literally basically no investment. And at the opposite end of the spectrum is something like, I don't know, building rockets for commercial use, where it takes a lot of investment, and there's a lot of things you could build that falls somewhere in between because it's such a vast range. So my problem at the moment is that I take on a lot of these low-hanging opportunities, and of course I'm trying to. I always intend to learn and grow and understand more and grow my capabilities, so more opportunities become, in that sense, lower hanging for me, so I can take them on easily. But I'm still doing things that I can get paid for right now, basically, right? I take a look at the market, who needs which kinds of projects done, who needs what kind of work done, and I basically sign up and do it, right? So I kind of sell my hours for dollars. Okay. Okay, so here comes a tricky part where I could go on talking about what is for a very long time. I mean, everyone can, because reality is just so in your face, and you can basically go through your entire history of whatever subject you choose, and you could talk about it for a while. But that's not really helpful, and this is what I'm sensing right now, what I'm noticing right now as I speak about this, as I hear myself speak about this. It's that it would not really serve me, or I don't accomplish anything by just laying out what is. I have to move beyond that. I have to take a step in some direction. I have to think a thought I haven't thought before, or I haven't focused on as much before, or and start to think differently, start to feel differently, so that I can move to some place that I haven't been before. Or that right now, if I just talk about what is right now, where I am not, I need to take a step. So, and it's of course good to consider, where do I want to go? And where I want to go is that I want to build things. I want to make things that are great. I want to make things that, and eventually I don't have to do that tomorrow, though I wouldn't be opposed to that. But I want to build things that change change the face of the earth. I mean, in this, or we could say that, let's say if I didn't build them, or if we look at two alternative timelines where on one I did build this thing, and on the other I don't because I died previously before that. I mean, someone would be sad, would be really sad about if someone were to look at and compare these two timelines, they would be sad, or they would be, yeah, they would be kind of sad or disappointed, or no, not disappointed, it's not the right word, but it would be where you would say, oh, what a shame that this did not come to pass, right? Something that actually really benefits, that can really be noticed, something that changes, that brings significant positive change to our experience here on this planet. Could be to societies, to economy, to engineering, science, whatever, to daily lives of a lot of people. So this is where I want to go. And right now, yeah, not looking so great. I feel like right now, yeah, low-hanging fruit, just, you know, doing small stuff, and it does feel a bit like mowing the lawn. What? It's getting late. mowing the lawn for the neighbor, which is good. I mean, everyday small scale happiness and steps like that. This is good. I mean, this is good, but it's not satisfying in a certain way that I'm looking for. And you also definitely need both of these types of things in your life, where you're doing something at a small scale, like just taking care of your family, taking care of loved ones, of communities, of neighbors, and everyone. Strangers, especially strangers. They often get neglected, let's say. Everyone likes to think well of their family, but not as many make an effort to think as well and take as good care of strangers as of just their loved ones, or the people they already know are awesome or can be awesome. Because that's true for everyone, of course. You just don't know them. So, and I mean, of course, I'm also open to evaluating if this is what I actually want at the moment. Is that really what I'm looking for? I mean, I want to be satisfied at the end of the day. And satisfied with what I accomplish with, and I wanna accomplish more tomorrow than I have yesterday, and I want to see that reflected in something. And what is it? I mean, something that's hugely inspiring at the moment is the success of Tesla, for example. The things that they do, what they accomplish. I mean, there's lots of opinions on various things about Tesla, but something that they do well is they create progress. They make progress in an area that is potentially, or that is important and impactful, like energy and transportation. Very important areas of our economies and everyday lives. And I mean, this is something I can feel. They really want to make something better, and they're aiming high, and they're doing the best that they can. And I think that's something, if you can say that about something that you're doing, that's very satisfying. Okay. I'm just tired of walking around right now. So here's where I am. I have these ideas, and they're coming to me again and again. I try to. So I've learned that it's not good to chase an idea. And this is actually true, I find, in my life in general. It's not good, for me at least, to really chase things. And one of the areas where I applied that the most successfully is with relationships and women. I don't chase them. I've never been chasing relationships, and I don't know why I didn't, but that just was the case for me always. And I find that, love just comes to me. Relationships just come to me. This is not something I worry about. This is not something, yeah, I I just know I don't have to. And maybe with love and relationships, it's easier for me. But I mean, I'm also saying that only because I don't have all these negative beliefs and negative thoughts within myself that say that I have to justify my value in some aspect of my life, because in relationships I just don't. And with other people, or with potential mates and lovers, I I don't know, I just never even considered, I think, if I should ever have to justify my, I don't know, worth or value, or I don't know, or yeah, I'm just me, and I move through this world and I do whatever I would do. And my arm is going to die at some point because of holding this video device. Yeah, so for relationships, it's great. I I figured it out. And actually, the same thing I do apply to ideas. And I wanted to say that I don't think it's healthy to really chase ideas, or like, I've met a lot of people who really try to hold on and guard their ideas, and they think they're so great. And it's like they keep chasing the idea, they keep holding on to the idea. And the problem with that, and this is something that I did experience in the past for myself, the problem with that is that you don't know when it's time, when the idea is past due date, so to speak, or is not fresh anymore, is not healthy to hold on to anymore, because you're trying to hold on to it all the time. And there was a time where it was good to do that, it was healthy, or the idea was good, it was meant for you, it really wanted to I don't know, join forces with you. It wanted to hang out with you. It wanted to, for you to think about it and do something with it. But for ideas, they really are like fresh produce, basically. They have to be fresh. They have to be consumed fresh. They have a due date is not the right term, right? It's when you're going to have a child, but what's the term for best before date? Something like that. Like a date after which it may or may not be healthy anymore to, consume this thing, to yeah, yeah, to put that into your system. And it's the same thing with ideas. They have such a date. They expire at some point. Yeah, expiry date, right? So if you just practice holding on to every idea that you think is so great, you will miss the past due. No, I'm saying it wrong again, right? The expiry date. So this is something I do not do. And then there are these ideas that, despite me just, letting them go, thinking about that and letting them go, just not being attached to whether, I don't know, I'm going to turn this idea into a magnificent business or not, I just let them go. but they come back. And some of these are just so persistent, they just keep coming back. And I can't get rid of them. And I mean, it's not that I want to get rid of them, because I do feel, I do notice also that they come in response to certain intentions that I set. Because I mean, I don't know how I would formulate this intention specifically, because I've never tried, but something along the lines of, building an empire. And the more I think about that, the more I have intentions that go in that direction, like earning certain sums of money, for example. So if I only think about, oh yeah, I want to earn, I don't know, $1,000, then some of these ideas would never cross my mind, because they are like they are we're talking about very different altitudes of achievement and success, and yeah, with some of these. So I have these ideas that, yeah, as we just discovered, they also come in part to in response to some of the thoughts that I think, which are not directly targeted at any of these ideas, any of these business ideas, but yeah, they just are, how do we say that? They hang out in similar places, or because I'm saying, oh, my destination is way over there, these ideas pop up, because I mean, that's where they live, right? And they show me where I need to go, or what I need to think about, what I need to implement, execute, what I need to achieve in order to get to where I say I would like to go. So that's very good, and I'm happy about that. So that means this part of my process is already working. I just set an intention, and I don't feel much resistance about that. I don't discourage myself from that. And then these ideas come. Now the question is, how do I put them into practice? How do I go about implementing these ideas? And it's kind of a weird question, and I think that this is not a good question, because I can't find any answers to this question. So let's see. Well, I guess one way, so there's a bunch of these ideas, and you could say it's business ideas or product ideas. Maybe product ideas is a better term, because they're, in the end, I have discovered they're all related and all point in very similar directions. They would point my efforts in very similar directions. And it's kind of different products that in the end are pointing at one and the same overarching or meta product. And just, I don't know, for context, a lot of these ideas for me are pointing in the direction of developer tools, and like a new level of ease of software development, let's say. But so my problem is, how do I make a step from where I am right now, which is just working for other people on their products, to, well, working on my own, and actually to, I mean, I need to build something I can sell that brings in enough income that I can stop working on other people's projects, or at least I have the freedom at all times to not work, to decide to work on, to basically then invest in continuing to building out one of my own ideas. And I don't actually like the term one's own ideas, and I don't know what I would like to replace that with, but I feel like an idea is not something you can ever own. It's not something that originates from within myself, but rather it is something that's greater than me, much greater than, or bigger, larger. It so many more people are involved with an idea. So many more people are participating at any given time in the most diverse set of roles with an idea. An idea is something that draws upon itself all of these different participants, which it needs in order to, yeah, an idea is like a super diverse meta being that consists of, everyone who thinks about this idea and participates in it. Like thinking about it already makes you a participant in a way, because it's already going to start influencing you, and you're going to be part of this machine that is this idea in a way. I don't know if that makes sense, if that translates into language, the in some relatable way, in some way that in but in my mind, that's kind of what it looks like. So I could say, what could I say about this? Well, I would like the freedom to work on ideas that excite me more than others, for example, because obviously I'm oftentimes more excited about, and I mean this is kind of why I'm asking. Also, this is part of the reason for asking for receiving some of these ideas, is that I would like to be more excited, of course, about the work that I'm doing something that actually requires to use this brain of mine, or to use this, intention machinery and creative machinery that I have for something more than mowing the neighbor's lawn, right? Than operating this machine that someone else built and that works really well and which is great, but that just does not draw upon my personal creative resources at all. And at some point that just becomes not very satisfying anymore. Or I can do a certain amount of lawn mowing, but everything beyond that is just doesn't feel good anymore. So I would like to, okay. So how do I? So what I'm trying to do right now is to find a better question, because the question often determines the quality of the question, determines the potential for an answer. Some questions are just so bad that there is no good or helpful or constructive answer to them. I don't remember what I wanted to say with two. But anyway, I'm trying to find a better question so that I may be able to get an answer here. What is it that I want then? I mean, okay, so I want to be more excited. I want to work on things that excite me more. I want to work on things that point into the future more. How do I do that? And does it have to be one of my own ideas, quote unquote? And maybe it doesn't have to. But I'm also hesitant to. I mean, for example, I guess some companies are working on some ideas that would be more exciting to me. And would that be something I would like? Would I like to find things that I would like to work on that other people are already building and just join them? And this is something I don't feel as good about. And I don't know why. Okay, sometimes I think that maybe I have some kind of negative image of all the companies out there. And there's a lot of bad stuff going on at many companies, and people are not maybe respected, or it takes a certain culture to be able to bring out the best in people, or to allow people to be their best selves and to do the best work they can do to be really empowered. And I mean, I also think that there are a bunch of companies, and it's definitely growing, the number of companies that are doing a lot of things right, that are based on principles that actually honor humans, like the fullness of what a human represents. I do think that there are companies like that, but I don't understand why I don't feel a desire to go and join them. I I feel like I just I I mean it does, we do need more people who build companies like that. I very much do believe that. And I think if others can do it, I can do it too. Even though I don't think I have any special talents or something in this area. I can just see where we need to go, maybe clearer than many other people at many times. And this is something I can see consistently where we need to go in terms of how we need to see people, how companies need to see people, how we need to treat each other, what kind of culture and practices it takes in order to build such companies. And that's kind of, yeah. But it's definitely like it's a big challenge. There's lots of challenges for me ahead on this path. Yeah, I'm just not excited about trying to join anything else. It feels like it would be an easier path in some ways, but I don't know. I can't. But then the question is, how do I make money? Because some of the things that, I mean, I have bigger ideas and smaller ideas, and even the small ideas seem to be too big to be able to afford to build them. Is this all just about having enough money or something? Or is this about, so I do have, at least sometimes it feels like I have a lot of fears relative to running with my own ideas. Basically, yeah, ideas that would that call for me to start something. So right now what I'm doing is I'm bringing my attention, my focus back from, so now I've been exploring out there and considering some thoughts and ideas. And now I'm just, I mean, I feel like I'm hitting a wall in some ways. It doesn't feel very productive to keep, sensing out there. And so I'm returning my attention back to in here, deactivating some of these thoughts again, and just going back here, feeling good, as much as I can, just releasing, letting go of attempting to, find solutions here and do something out there, and just giving up in some way, in a constructive way. Maybe I'm just afraid because some of these things, some of these ideas They're not as big, are they? I'm trying to balance now going through my process with, yeah, the thought pops up, am I just boring everyone to death who's listening to this? Is there any value in watching me in depth going through all of these thoughts and trying on different thoughts and perspectives and getting feedback from myself and from listening to myself, how that feels, and doing this back and forth dance between, in here, taking a step back, letting go, releasing this attempt, right? Then going to the next attempt, like feeling around in this area, sensing here, until, you find some kind of wall, then you go back, you let go, you try a new approach. Yeah. Okay, but I'll allow myself to cut out any portions that I should feel are just too boring to watch or something, or I'll just put in maybe some bookmarks in the video where you can jump over these. I think that would be enough, because the upload costs nothing. It costs nothing to have a longer video online, I guess. And yeah, just don't want to bore anyone. And obviously, I want to be productive here. But it is a creative process. And yeah, it just has its own time, or it takes its own time. It has its own pace at which it's going. And that's fine. So sometimes I'm wondering, am I just afraid of taking certain steps? And I've taken steps towards, implementing some of these easier to do products in the past. And I've always hit a wall. I was motivated for a short while, and then it kind of fizzled out, because either I had to actually focus on earning money. That was often a problem. I feel like I would be able to balance it better right now. What do you guys think? Feedback would be really helpful right now. Please send some from the future. I am listening. I'll just act as if I'm already receiving it, and maybe I am. I don't know what would have happened in the alternate timeline where I didn't ask for feedback from the future. But anyway, I'll act as if I am receiving some, and let's see what happens. Yeah, I'm usually not that scared. I do feel a little concerned about, manage the financials. And a lot of people seem to have a bunch of success with asking other people for money to support, a product, an idea in the early stages, venture capital and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. Then there's all kinds of Förderungen, how do you say in English? Like programs that are designed to support early stage inventions, basically, stuff like that. I don't know, not a big fan of that either, because there's usually a lot of bureaucracy involved, a lot of paperwork and maintaining stuff that has nothing to do with the actual work of thinking up and creating something. And I don't like that. That just takes away a bunch of focus. I do think that there's always a way. There's always a set of steps that can be taken that take you from where you are right now to where you want to go. And maybe you just have to be determined enough to see them. So I think I want to include a more technical section here, and I think I'll put some links or bookmarks or sections. I don't know what it's called in YouTube videos these days, so people can just skip over this. But I feel like I have to discuss that just for myself and maybe also for some of the more technical viewers. So it's out of the way, out of my system. It's going to be interesting. So as I said, most of the ideas that come to me are really focused on, let's say, software development 2.0. And what I mean by that, or what this means to me, what I'm trying to define with that is I mean, it's so far it's still it's not, yeah, it's I'll have to cut these. Okay, I mean it's somewhat nebulous, but the core idea, the core thing that I resonate with, or that I feel resonating with all of these ideas, is to expect. So right now, every software developer has to know a lot of stuff, know a lot of details. There's so much in even simple programs where it's like you yourself as a developer have to make sure that these, I don't know, like loose ends meet up, or that this wire connects to exactly this wire and like 5 more times within the same program. And I mean, there's efforts that people are making to make this easier, like good type systems, and yeah, and I mean some, yeah. But let's say, for example, type systems, and that's good, but it's nowhere near enough. And so this is one problem. Another is that we have a lot of so as humans, language is very important to us. We are very contextual. So that means that one word can mean something entirely different in 2 different contexts. And we use that context to communicate efficiently. And when we are learning something, we are building up context and then using that to our advantage. So for example, when we're looking at a certain problem domain, we build up a context. The first thing you do when you either join a project or even just consult someone about building something, or in a specific area of this world, at first you ask a lot of questions and you learn a lot about the context, the language, the terms that are being used, the actors, just how everything fits together, and how all of these things are named, how they're called, how they're used, and everything. And all of this context is freaking lost as soon as you start writing a program. You have to start from scratch. no, like in all of the, I don't know, 50 million pieces of software in existence today, maybe there's more, I don't know, just ballpark figure, like we've redefined what a freaking button is, or what a damn, I don't know, I mean, yeah, for some things there are primitives now, like I was thinking of a table. Okay, so we have some tools that make it easier for us to build certain kinds of tables, but the machine in large portions of the code that we're writing does not even know what a freaking table is. Maybe CSS, for example, if you're styling something, okay, it knows about tables, or HTML knows about tables, or whatever desktop development software you're using or something, okay, it knows about that in some portions of its systems. But when it comes to, for example, filling it from a database or something, then like all of that context is lost, all of that knowledge that existed in some super specialized compartment of the stack. And now I've forgotten how I've started the sentence, but but that knowledge that existed somewhere at least is forgotten, and that knowledge was super highly specifically encoded for that particular part of the system, and you have to do the same thing for so many systems and subsystems that it's insane. And meanwhile, humans are raising their smaller humans to understand one day what a book is, what a table is, what things that we can then use in context to communicate with each other. If we would have to describe to each child the whole context whenever we wanted them to do something, or for them to understand something or to learn something new, we would go freaking crazy. And this is how we communicate with computers today. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's maddening if you actually see the patterns and then you watch yourself going through them each time you're working on some program. It's stupid. It drives me nuts. And there's just these patterns of knowledge and understanding that humans create, and that are embedded, or that where they create context and like more specialized versions of our general understandings, where certain rules are implied and apply automatically, and everyone who talks about that understands, like all communication that happens within that area is understood to have these properties, to right, that there is already a system, and computers should be able to tap into those things. They should understand certain context, like all the context that anyone ever wrote a computer program for. Basically, a computer should have knowledge about what this context is, about all of the words, the actors, how things relate to each other, like all of the relationship diagrams and database schemas that we're writing. We're writing the same shit over and over and over again. It's stupid. I don't know if I have any other word for it, but it's like, I hate stupid work, right? I hate work that's repetitive, where I've already learned something and now I have to do it again, or where I've already done something once, or even like dozens of times until it's really like muscle memory and everything. That's fine, but beyond that, it just becomes stupid. You don't learn much doing it. You don't gain anything extra from it. It just becomes boring. It's like automatable work that a machine should be able to do, something that I should not have to specify to a machine again and again and again, and I still have to do it. And yeah, if you have better terms for that, but I can only call it stupid. And I feel very strongly about that. It's stupid how much work we're wasting on things like that. Essentially reinventing the wheel all the time, because there is no context system. There is no shared learning. I mean, imagine a world without GitHub. Just try and imagine it. Like, imagine all of the things that are open source. If there was no open source, everyone was still cooking their own soup, we say in German, basically. everyone was, inventing the wheel again and again. Um, I mean, we would not get any shit done at all compared to where we are today. Like it's amazing, and it's kind of similar with that. It just takes, like, you cannot apply the same principles or the same. You cannot do it. You cannot invent this kind of system, like this next step up. Um, but like you cannot use the same perspective from which, for example, we were able to create um, something like GitHub and open source, um, in order to go another step up the ladder, and create this meta context, meta learning, uh, basically system. Um, so my suspicion is that it's not being done, it's not being implemented, because it just takes a certain change, transmutation, or yeah, in a sense, transmutation of, is that the right word? Yeah, like alchemy. Yeah, really transmuting one's perspective in a way that I don't know if it hasn't been done before. I don't want to make things sound grander than they need to be, but just yeah, where you have to think differently, um, and afterwards, after you've done it, after something has been proven and shown, then yeah, it's not so hard to then think differently. But before you have made that step, it's kind of hard because you don't know in which direction you need to go, or like where you like where to look, and how to recognize, and stuff like that. um, but this is something that I feel, that I can feel, I can sense, I know where we are right now, and I know where we need to go. So all of my ideas are kind of pointing in that direction. And obviously, in total, this is a huge thing. Like, this would take participation of like millions of people in the end. It's really actually similar to the open source model, in that there's shared increased capability, or of communicating with computers, or shared increase in the capabilities we can easily evoke or invoke on our computers, something like that. um, yeah, really like a step up. If you think about the world where, for example, in web development or JavaScript, before Node and NPM existed, and you just had to write something yourself, and now you can find, some okay quality or good enough package that just does what you need, like, I don't know, UID generation or something. Even something as small as that would just have taken a lot of developer time overall, before the advent of true mass adopted open source, massively popular open source, and the tools that needed to go along with that. And it's kind of similar. It's like for example, the computer, or the languages or computer stacks, our programming tools, they should understand, for example, what Twitter is. I should just be able to say, though I don't know if I want to get into a discussion of what I'm imagining here. Is that useful right now or not? I guess maybe I can do that some other time. Really explore that, because there's a lot of value in that, at the very least for myself, in terms of painting the picture in a more specific and more complete sense, of what I imagine there. Okay, but right now I want to focus on, okay, so this is the direction. Maybe this hopefully this gave you enough an idea to, like, understand the rough direction. And this is kind of the direction I'm getting called towards, I'm getting pulled towards. And now the question is, how do I get there? How do I build this thing? Because, and obviously I cannot just start building this thing because there's so much technology involved that hasn't been invented yet, and that, you know, I may have to invent, or portions of my future organization and empire are going to build and invent. And that, in many parts, many parts, that other people, are other entities, other organizations will have to and will want to invent and share with all of us, basically. So I can't do it alone, and I can't even go out and ask everyone to participate in some way because the picture hasn't even formed yet, right? So that makes sense. The picture hasn't even formed yet. The vision is not clear yet in that sense, and I can't really work on something that's not clear to me yet, right? That makes a lot of sense. Ideas need to be clear. They need to be, yeah, clear at the very least, so I can really move towards them. So, what clear ideas do I have? So I have some ideas. So I have, how many? I don't know, like a handful or something that are reasonably clear to me, that seem reasonably clear to me. For some of which don't have a clear monetization strategy, let's say, or commercialization strategy. Because so something that I feel like is really important is not just having an idea, but also, and not, yeah, or let's say not just the idea. It needs to have two parts. One of them is, let's say, the technical solution, because I'm thinking about mostly technical stuff, let's say, and like, and the problems that something solves from a user's perspective, right? Solving a problem is one concern of an idea, one part, one very important portion. And the other one is about what I would call commercialization. Because I see that there is a lot of ideas, a lot of really good ideas and technical solutions that are getting created, or that, yeah, get created, but then they don't get commercial traction, and they just fizzle out. And it's a shame, because there's a really good technical solution, but nobody basically can afford to continue to work on it. Or and maybe there's also very few people who are really that excited then about it, because if there's a big imbalance in terms of how much brain power, how much creative energy needs to go into something, and then how little reward, in a financial sense, it gets generated back from that investment. Yeah, I mean, it's clear that that's going to get a lot fewer people excited about that. Yeah, and these things really do need to sustain themselves, because they are like they're like machines in a way, or they're like self-producing, self-replicating, self-improving replicators, basically, we could say. Because yeah, a product, yeah, is like is like creating itself, in a sense, if you see it as the as consisting of multiple parts. One of it is the idea that gets that is first conceived and then put into practice, and then that feedback goes back into evolving that idea. So the idea is evolving through this cycle. And then if you see the people that are connected to or tapped into this idea, they turn the wheels on this thing. and then there's the it's manifest, it's implemented, its physical form of the idea, where people are getting um, are in contact with that, and who also feed into the idea, and 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 um, and this thing overall kind of wants to perpetuate itself. Like if an idea is good, and if it's implemented in some basic form, if a basic solution exists basically, then I mean everyone wants for that to get better, for example. There's desire to have that, and then there is all kinds of ideas created from that, or feedback created that kind of evolves. Like in the beginning, our perception of a thing is very general and very unspecific, which is basically the same thing. Well said, Dennis. Is very general and not very elaborate. It's not very in depth. It's not very clear yet. It's like, I don't know, I'm sure there was a point before sofas were invented, and then someone said, oh, we'll just make something that is really soft, and there it has cushions and stuff, but it's for sitting and not for lying down. And it was general, and there was maybe, when someone built the first thing, there was like one version of it, or maybe they went ham and built like three sofas at the same time. But basically it started with just, in some rough form, and then like look at how many different kinds of sofas, and how that has branched out into so many different categories of that. And that happens for everything that we explore. Basically every new idea we get, it starts from something general, from something maybe not necessarily simple, but yeah, just more general, and becomes more specific. It gets more facets, or as more people observe it, we have all different preferences, and then it branches out into all of these more specialized things that serve different people at different times, in different ways, but that all tie back or go back or stem from the same idea. It's like a tree branching out, I guess. There's a seed, and it grows and it becomes stronger and bigger, and the more you feed, in the case of the tree, the more you feed the tree, the more it's going to grow. It's going to it's going to go somewhere. Life always moves somewhere. It wants to evolve. And so this is the same thing that then happens for our idea with this with each product, with each idea, with each solution being something of a self-evolving mechanism, or natural phenomenon, maybe you could say, right? And so it becomes really interesting when you can just keep these wheels spinning. That's again the wrong term, huh? Keep these wheels turning. If you can, keep this machine going, if it can generate, interest and revenue, and I mean interest from users, revenue, if it can generate interest from people who want to, from the creative side, right, from the consuming side, from the creative side, and then keep this machine going. And the more it's going, the more refined its output is going to be, the more everything's going to evolve and improve. And so it's a shame when there's a really good technical solution for something, and then this machine is not running because it lacks revenue, or it lacks feedback, it lacks interest from various parties. So and getting this thing to run, to build something that is this kind of well-oiled idea and product evolution machine, that really interests me. And that's where the juice is. I think that's where it gets really interesting. I mean, look at many of the products that we have today, how many iterations they have gone through, and what they were when they started, and how it doesn't even compare anymore, but the essence was there. And now look at what we have, right? Like you could look at anything, definitely in the category of technology. It has evolved so much, and this is where it's so interesting, and we're so excited about where it's going to go next. And this requires building really good commercial machines, or that build these things, that evolve these things, where this is a self-fulfilling or self-driving, self-replicating, self-evolving and replicating system. No. So that's kind of my current image of what a product is, what a company really wants to be, or business, or an empire. That the subsystems it would consist of would look like that, like these machines. And how do I get started? How do I build, how do I start building the first version of this machine that, that feeds just me and my family at first, and that I happily work on building and evolving, where it might be just me turning the wheels. How do I do that? And so I have a few ideas where it's clear to me that they would lead to the beginning of such a cycle, of such a machine. I really want to find out how I can get there, how I can, what the first steps are. So, okay, so a few examples. One thing that's really missing is real-time support for the standard databases. So MySQL and Postgres, for example, as two of the most popular examples. What I mean by that is you need some kind of application layer support or implementation that allows you to get notified when something has changed in your database. So that usually means that you will put in at the application layer somewhere, for example, where you're making changes to the objects in your database. You will notify yourself, basically. You will generate an event right there. Or you will go and poll, or you will create some kind of solution. But this is something where you just don't have anything out of the box, but it should be there. Like databases, they're like concepts from the 80s, let's say, and they've been enhanced with a lot of modern ideas. But the idea of real time seems to be completely missing. There are elaborate technical solutions you can implement to get something of a real time I don't want to say event-based database, because those are not the right words. So to get something, and maybe, do I need to give an example? So let's say, for example, I just want to know when a new row gets added to a certain table. How do I know? What if I have multiple applications, or what if that are writing to this table? What if I have some legacy system or some third-party system where it's not easy for me to modify the application layer to send out events before or after they change or insert a new row? Then there's transactional concerns. What if I generate an event and then transaction rolls back and stuff like that? And consistency concerns and stuff like that. So there's a lot of concerns. And for any company that's doing advanced engineering, let's say, it's not such a hard problem to solve. It's really not that hard to solve. But for any companies, often individuals, but in small companies, startups, they either don't have the talent, or it's also a question of, just like with everything, where you could choose between a service that does it for you and just building it yourself. Yeah, there's different circumstances in which you would like to make the trade-off in one way or another. But yeah, okay. So I guess I'm right now kind of justifying the value proposition, but I think it's there. It's hard today, especially if you compare what's required in terms of technical implementation and complexity. If you compare that to just an average developer, an average small company, it's a lot. To ask to build a good system here, so everyone is just working with workarounds or just doesn't have those capabilities, and yeah, okay. I think I'm justifying what I think is the value of such a solution again, and that's not healthy. That is not healthy for me to do, because it's like I have my energy in. That's like I believe that this is not good enough, this is not valuable enough, or this is not, maybe in some way not complex enough or something. Because I mean, yeah, I am able to implement so many things that where there are a lot of developers who are just not at that stage already in their career, in their development of their capabilities, that they would have such an easy time implementing those things. And even for some very complex things, I wouldn't have a problem implementing those, but many other people would. And then I find myself justifying that, is anyone really going to want to use that? Because that seems, I mean, sometimes trivial to me, or at least in concept, or then in in a yeah, okay. I think yeah, that's the point. So because it would be easy for me to build some of these solutions. And interesting, so I'm saying it would be easy for me, but on the other hand, when faced with the prospect of having to implement a proper solution here, for example, for this real-time enhancement to a database, I mean, it's not actually that easy to build a proper implementation, to build a proper solution. That's actually not that easy. There's a bunch of workarounds and sort of solutions, but and most people are going for those if they need any of those, and I certainly have done that in the past. But to build a proper solution, that requires a little more involvement than most everyone is willing to put into this. That makes sense. So this is one example. And okay, what's my intention? Oh, this stuff is hard. Man, this is hard. This actually takes taking internal steps. I feel like you have to actually change internally in order to be able to accomplish some of these things. And that seems like a valuable thing in and of itself. Or it seems like maybe at least a certain portion of the value proposition of a new enterprise lies in the willingness of its founders or executing people to make internal changes, and not just the willingness, but also the actually doing it. How would you put that more nicely? Like not only in the execution of the implementation of the product, in the execution of building and providing this product, but also in executing the internal step up, right? In terms of bringing your energy to a different place, bringing your perspective to a new, better, evolved, improved place. And that alone might already be responsible for a certain amount of the value that the enterprise is going to provide. That's a good thought. I think that makes a lot of sense, because it changes how you approach problems, how you talk to your customers, how you see the world, in even in a small way, or in a certain area of life that actually has value. Man needs to elevate their perspective in order to continue to thrive. Okay, complete for now.